Welcome to Great Travel Documentary, where every city has a secret, and we're here to tell it. If there's one place in America that could vividly illustrate the shape of hell while masquerading as paradise, it would be Florida, the sunshine state of white sand beaches, luxury high-rises, and million-dollar vacations. Known for its sprawling resorts, swaying palm trees, and vibrant tourist hotspots, Florida has long been celebrated as a retirement haven and a dream destination for millions. But behind the glossy postcards and sunlit porches lies a far more painful reality, one that doesn't make it into the brochures or press releases. Just a few blocks away from the dazzling lights of Miami's skyline or the magic of Orlando's theme parks, thousands of people are sleeping rough on sidewalks, huddled in cars, or taking shelter under bridges. This is not the Florida of travel guides. It's a state where the American dream is rotting in silence, one broken spirit at a time. In this documentary, we'll uncover the raw truth behind Florida's glamorous facade, stepping into two parallel worlds where the American dream rots in the shadows of forgotten lives. If you find value in shedding light on stories like these, please hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Your support helps us continue exploring critical issues such as homelessness, economic disparity, and social justice. Are you ready to explore the dark side of the most vibrant and luxurious city in America? Let's start right now. Florida, once dubbed the retirement paradise of America, is now witnessing a silent collapse, one tent, one broken spirit, one forgotten human at a time. In 2023, the state recorded 30,809 people experiencing homelessness, a number that rose to 31,362 by 2024, marking a troubling increase of over 500 individuals in just 1 year. This escalation underscores an escalating crisis, with over 31,000 Floridians caught in a cycle of instability, struggling daily just to survive. The number of unsheltered individuals, those forced to sleep outdoors, has surged by nearly 10%, while shelter availability has declined by more than 5% over the past year. In densely crowded regions like Phoenix, Arizona, street encampments have increased by a staggering 450%, with nearly 1,000 individuals making the zone, formerly known as Thunderdome, their home for the last decade. But this crisis isn't limited to Arizona. Florida's own cities are grappling with the same dark reality. In Miami-Dade, over 4,200 people are homeless, while Orange County, home to Orlando and Disney World, counts nearly 3,000 unhoused individuals. Even affluent Scottsdale has seen a rise in homelessness as people flee more expensive areas, only to face the same statewide structural problems. From Miami's downtown to Tampa's parking lots, the rows of coconut trees and sprawling beaches are no longer enough to provide shade for those sleeping rough beneath them. Behind every statistic in Florida's homelessness crisis are real people with stories of shattered dreams, like Angelia Woods and Ricky, who fight daily to survive amidst unimaginable hardship. Angelia, once a senior accountant at the Florida Department of Transportation, had a stable job that many dream of. But after losing her job during the pandemic, she was evicted from her home and couldn't keep up with the skyrocketing rent prices. Now, she lives with her 4 children in a makeshift hotel room costing nearly $2,000 a month, a sum that consumes almost all her income. How is an accountant homeless? She asks, echoing the disbelief of many. She's not poor enough to qualify for assistance but can't afford a deposit for a new place, making her a living testament to a growing reality where homelessness threatens even the middle class. Meanwhile, in Phoenix, Arizona, Ricky endures a life of tremendous hardship in a tent encampment. Without access to running water or power, he battles unbearable summer heat, temperatures often surpassing 40 degrees Celsius, while struggling to find food, water, and basic necessities. His living conditions are filthy and dangerous, with no toilets or sanitation, putting him and others at constant risk of illness. Sleeping under flimsy tarps, Ricky finds little refuge from the perils of the night sky, yet he remains determined to find a place to live, get a vehicle, and reunite with his child. These stories are not isolated. They represent over 31,000 Floridians caught in a cycle of despair, where the American dream has faded into a nightmare of survival. Florida's homelessness crisis didn't erupt overnight. It's the result of decades of systemic neglect, skyrocketing housing costs, and policy failures that prioritize image over people. At the heart of the issue lies a brutal shortage of affordable housing. Across Florida, there are just 34 affordable and available rental units for every 100 extremely low-income households, leaving nearly 2/3 of the most vulnerable stranded, competing for limited space. or forced into impossible choices. In cities like Miami, a one-bedroom apartment now rents for over $2,700 a month, while in Tampa, it's $2,200. Prices far exceeding what the median salary of $45,000 a year can cover. Meanwhile, wages remain stagnant, forcing workers to spend nearly all their income just to have a place to sleep, leaving little for essentials like food or healthcare. Natural disasters like Hurricane Ian have exacerbated the crisis, wiping out precarious housing and leaving thousands without long-term recovery support. Additionally, nearly 30% of Florida's homeless population battles serious mental health disorders or substance addiction, yet access to treatment remains limited. On top of this, policy failures have deepened the divide. Social programs like SNAP and Medicaid face budget cuts, while tax money is funneled into tourism and luxury developments instead of affordable housing or welfare. The state's obsession with the free market, lacking rent control or regulations for low-income housing, has turned housing into a privilege, not a right. When a society fails to ensure a decent meal, a safe home, or basic care for its most vulnerable, the issue is no longer a lack of budget, but a lack of kindness and sincerity. Florida's approach to homelessness is less a safety net and more a sieve, with laws like HB 1365 criminalizing poverty instead of addressing its root causes. In 2024, Governor Ron DeSantis approved HB 1365, a law that bans public camping, sleeping, or resting in parks, on sidewalks, or even on Florida's beaches, claiming to restore public order. But let's call it what it is, a crackdown on homelessness disguised as a public safety policy. The bill doesn't offer protection, it imposes punishment, allowing private citizens and business owners to sue local governments that fail to enforce the ban. It turns poverty into a legal liability, criminalizing the very act of survival. One homeless individual shared their frustration. The cops give us no rest. I mean, we can't even sleep at the park anymore. I had like 5 tickets that night. The legislation mandates that municipalities provide alternative encampments or shelters but offers no significant funding or support, leaving local governments scrambling with stretched resources. Some counties erect makeshift tent zones, while others push people into riverbanks, wooded areas, or abandoned lots far from help, visibility, or safety. In areas like Miami's Overtown and downtown, where nearly 9,000 people live without fixed housing, even security forces admit they avoid patrolling unless absolutely necessary, as despair has surpassed the limits that power can control. When despair surpasses the limits that power can control, even security forces avoid patrolling areas like Miami's Overtown, leaving the homeless in a cycle of displacement and invisibility. Homelessness in Florida isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a full-blown public emergency that ripples through every part of the community, from overwhelmed hospitals to tense neighborhoods. Without stable housing, people face preventable health issues like infections, mental health declines, and chronic conditions, placing immense pressure on hospitals. Emergency rooms are flooded with cases that could have been addressed with basic shelter and hygiene, while law enforcement becomes the default responder to nonviolent incidents rooted in poverty, mental illness, or addiction, draining valuable resources. Neighborhoods grow tense as frustration and fear replace compassion, with businesses near encampments reporting fewer customers and declining property values. In Miami-Dade, luxury condos tower over encampments hidden beneath highway overpasses, while in Orange County, nearly 3,000 people are unhoused amidst vacant hotel rooms and overpriced rentals near Disney World. The irony cuts deep. In a state known for billion-dollar real estate and tourist attractions, thousands sleep on concrete. It's more costly to criminalize homelessness than to solve it. Arrests, ER visits, and constant displacement can cost up to $73,000 per person annually, while Housing First programs are cheaper and more effective. Yet, Florida continues to pour millions into policing encampments and enforcing anti-camping laws, merely pushing the crisis out of sight until it resurfaces elsewhere. When a city tolerates such disparity, what kind of prosperity are we truly celebrating? In a state that once prided itself on abundant food, it's hard to imagine that a hot meal has become a luxury privilege for thousands of Floridians. Outside supermarkets, parking lots, churches, and forgotten parks, the elderly, children, veterans, and single mothers line up quietly, hoping for a box of cold noodles, a slice of white bread, or an expired can of beans, sometimes not even guaranteed their turn. According to Feeding Tampa Bay, 1 in 6 adults and 1 in 7 seniors in Florida face food insecurity, forced to choose between paying for food, rent, or medication. A 64-year-old retired power worker, living on a modest pension after a work-related accident, rides his bike nearly 10 kilometers 3 times a week to a food distribution center in Tampa. Last week, he arrived only to be told they had run out of meals for the day. "I never thought there'd come a day when a decent meal became such a luxury privilege," he shared. This crisis isn't due to a storm or drought, but stems from misguided policy choices. Food inflation has driven prices of essentials like meat, eggs, and milk to their highest in 2 decades, while programs like SNAP have been cut or reduced. Local food banks, once lifelines during the pandemic, are now overwhelmed, unable to keep up with demand. When meals become scarce and jobs no longer pay the rent, people are left clinging to a faint hope, a lifeline that's fraying strand by strand. In Florida, there are workers who wake up at 5 a.m., wear uniforms, complete their tasks, and pay taxes, yet still can't afford a roof over their heads after their shifts end. These are not the lazy stereotypes of outdated prejudices. They are servers, delivery drivers, hospital janitors, warehouse workers, and supermarket cashiers, the people who keep Florida's machine running. But after their shifts, they don't go home. They return to parking lots, old cars with curtains drawn tight, underpasses, or roadside tents. A full-time worker earning minimum wage in Florida would need to work over 80 hours a week just to afford rent for a 1-bedroom apartment at market price, $200 in Tampa or $2,700 in Miami. Even with a better salary, spending 70% of income on housing, nearly double the recommended 30%, leaves little for food, healthcare, or emergencies. Angelia Woods, the former accountant, is a stark example. Despite her stable career, she now struggles to house her family, caught in a system where effort no longer guarantees stability. The cause lies in a complete breakdown between the value of labor and the cost of living, exacerbated by policies that fail to support the gig economy and freelance workers. When hard work no longer guarantees stability, does the American dream still exist for the servers, janitors, and cashiers who keep Florida running? Florida doesn't need more promises or superficial fixes. It needs real action to address the root causes of homelessness and restore dignity to those who've been forgotten. First, we must prioritize the Housing First model, which provides homes without conditions and follows up with support services. This approach has cut chronic homelessness by as much as 80% in some cities, proving to be more compassionate, effective, and cost-efficient. Second, statewide investments in deeply affordable housing are crucial, not just units priced below market, but truly accessible to those earning the least. Rental assistance and strong eviction prevention programs can stop people from falling into homelessness in the first place. Third, we need to expand mental health and substance abuse services alongside job training, legal help, and housing support, ensuring these services are connected so people don't fall through the cracks. But perhaps the most critical step is rewriting the narrative. Homelessness isn't about bad choices, it's about broken systems. Communities must challenge the "not in my backyard" mindset and support affordable housing initiatives in their neighborhoods. You can make a difference by supporting local organizations doing the hard work every day, volunteering, donating, or simply speaking out against harmful policies like HB 1365. Share your thoughts in the comments, support local organizations, and join us in amplifying the voices of the homeless in America, because change starts with us. Florida, once seen as the promised land of sunlit porches and new beginnings, is no longer a destination. It's becoming a place to leave, a cracked mirror reflecting the disintegration of the American dream. Reports show that young people, workers, and even the middle class are quietly fleeing the state, not because they don't love it, but because they can no longer afford to survive here. This crisis is not a sudden collapse, but a silent disintegration, layer by layer, through indifferent policy decisions, neglected inflation, and citizens disappearing from the system. Florida may still have sunshine, beaches, and tourists checking in with stunning photos, but beneath that veneer of glamour, a layer of Americans live without knowing what tomorrow will bring, or if there will even be a tomorrow. This is a wake-up call, not just for Florida, but for America, where the values that once held society together are cracking. When housing becomes a privilege, welfare a burden, and the poor are blamed instead of protected, we must ask, is there anywhere bright enough to guide the rest? Or will we continue to let the homeless in America fade into the shadows? Florida's homeless crisis is a cry for help, a stark reminder that behind the Sunshine State's dazzling facade, thousands are fighting to survive with nowhere to turn. But this isn't just a story to watch and forget. It's a call to action for all of us. If this documentary stirred something in you, a spark of sorrow, a flame of anger, or a resolve to make a difference, don't let it fade. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation that can't be ignored. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to amplify these unheard voices and support more stories that matter. But don't stop there. Take a step further. Support local organizations in Florida, like Feeding Tampa Bay or the Las Vegas Rescue Mission, through volunteering, donating, or advocating for affordable housing in your community. Together, we can shine a light on the shadows and rebuild a Florida where no one is left behind. Your voice, your action, your compassion can change lives. Will you join us today? Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. This video is created for the purpose of analysis, exploration, and sparking community thought based on public data, official sources, and true accounts. We do not represent any political organization or government agency, and we do not intend to incite, distort, or mislead. All content in the video aims to raise social awareness and open up a discussion space, not to replace legal advice or official data sources.